Kim.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Women's Coffee Club. We created this club to provide a safe space for women to share and inspire each other and to learn from a different presenter each week. And our presenter this morning is Julie Mair from the Netherlands. So, welcome, Julie. So happy to have you. So grateful. Her topic is about, she'll be talking about humanity and the planet. It's space, the final frontier. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Julie, and why this topic. Go ahead and take it from here. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Thank you, and thank you all for coming. I forget that it's the morning over there. We're in the afternoon over here, so it's I've already had most of my day, but it's lovely to come on to this lovely group of women in this lovely safe space. So, and I've been kind of off the grid for a little bit with certain happenings, but for years now I've been shall we say, dedicated to, oh, did that without meaning to, dedicated to learning actually, and to assisting young people, and not just young people, even older people, but people to find themselves. And Ava and I met years ago at a conference in UK, where I'd been teaching for a long time and been involved in special needs for a while too. And we met at this wonderful organisation that was looking at different ways of educating. And Ava had been an educator for years, and I'd sort of gone into it later. And I went to one of her workshops and I was blown away by the way that people could do things and how we could learn. And I went back to my own learning, and especially my son's, and where I thought I was a total failure. So there's been this passion for how to go about things, and passion for people to find themselves in their own space and start appreciating themselves. So, and I think the education system nearly all over the world, with the exception of obviously some places, really needs a kick in the butt. And it's just not preparing people, I don't think, generally for where they need to be. So space is the final frontier. That was Star Trek. Those of you that are old enough to remember it. The word space came to me because it's not just about silence, and it's about creating space for ourselves, creating space for creativity, creating space for learning, creating space in our day for reflection, all these sorts of things. And within the curriculum, creating space where people can learn correctly, and it began again I've been working for the last couple of months in a little school again because I retired about 4 years ago, and I'm working with a tiny a little fellow, 5 years old, who's really struggling, and oh my God, he's at a bilingual school, and he's got sensory issues, he's got developmental delays, and he's incredibly bright, so hypersensitive as well. So here he is in this environment. He's only 5 years old, and they're lining up. He's doing it in 2 languages. And I thought, oh my Lord, 5 years old, you should still be playing, I feel. So anyway, and that sort of spurred off, right, let's create some space, right? And why this small child, all these little children are already, that do this, do that, do this, do it this way, sit down, be quiet, follow it was all this. And I thought, hey, where are they? They lose themselves, sometimes already, even at that time. And he's off the wall because he can't cope at all. Yeah, so that sort of spurred it off. And last year, Ava and I did a whole series of, or she did really, I just assisted her in looking at transforming learning and looking at all the areas of learning. So that was it. Yeah. So I'm going to share my screen. I've been trying to practice here. Okay, can you see that okay? Oh, look, hi, Darla and Angela. I can only see some of you. Because yeah, the screen doesn't show it properly. So a big welcome to you all. And I've actually done too much, so you'll have to forgive me. And Ava tried to simplify me last night and just get it into to the beer, but I felt so much passion and need to say many things that I didn't. So of course I've actually made a mind map, but I'm not sure that we'll get through it all, and it is a little bit overwhelming, so do forgive me. Already I'm apologising before I even start. So there we are. Now, can you see that okay? No answer? Can people see that?
Yes, we can, Julie.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay. So it's got a little bit much on it, but what I'm looking at here is that the whole thing is space, the final frontier. Now, what we're looking at both sides is learning and how creating space is really important for learning and extremely important for creativity too. And my friend's here that she's a primary teacher, and we were talking about creativity with her 8 or 9 year olds, and you know what she does to help to do that. And it just inspired me completely to think about that creativity doesn't always have to be silence, you know, it can also be creating some space and safety within, you know, within the framework. So there we're going to start. So I've got space as the final frontier, and the first parts we've separated into shift and what we need to do to shift. Now, a lot of these cross over, you know, between the both sides, because underneath it you'll see we've got creative needs zone, creative zone, and then the learning zone. And there is a separation, but a lot of the things cross over as well. So the learning zone is more about preparing for examinations, preparing for testing, for, you know, getting information in for learning new stuff. The creative zone, of course, is more about making new things and, you know, taking things further. So I've just quickly, and I do apologise, it should be much neater. I was trying to con Ava into doing it for me because she does them beautifully, but she started it for me and then I carried on myself. So with creative needs, I think the first thing is to create space and also to take that pressure off by being timeless, you know, there's no need to feel like you've got to do it within a certain framework, you know. We need silence to imagine, you know, to let the imagination run riot. And the next one here I find incredibly important is suspend judgment. How often we, and including on yourself, suspend the judgment about how things should be, right? And that comes down to judging ourselves too when we're starting something different, you know. Now there's silence, but there's also, when you're working in a group particularly, sometimes you can provoke people to thinking in a slightly different angle that they hadn't considered, and that can create a springboard, and they can make associations with other things that they've been doing. They can also make connections with other people, and this is, I'm talking about within a little group, like for instance we're here, or Noble Goldman, or you know, whatever group you belong, how we can create things together if we allow for that space, right? Whoops, I'm back. With collaboration, of course, we can bounce ideas off each other, you know, things that you wouldn't have thought of. And they can become kind of building blocks. And I think once you do collaboration, you can bounce ideas, and then these ideas come to you quite suddenly, you know, and think, oh my goodness, you know, oh wow, what about this? And, you know, we're just saying, as soon as that does, own it and commit to it, because creative bubbles, I know yourself, I've often come up with ideas and I haven't sort of carried it further. And then when you go to remember it again, the bubbles burst, you know, it's gone, it's forgotten. So something to consider. Now, these are all kind of creative ideas and creative needs. And then we go to the other side, and that's allowing, right? We've got, we have to shift. Up the top here, I've said, oh, whoops, from, I've missed the top bit, haven't I? Sorry. For the shift is from logic to random. Okay, we have to shift within from logic to random in the creative, when we're doing creative stuff. And we've become from stressed to relaxed. So we need to be in a relaxed state to be able to think creatively. We move from the left to right, from the left brain to the right, and that's an incredible shift, you know. And we move from clutter to space and peaceful thoughts. Yeah. So if we go to the other side now, we're looking at learning zone. Now, what do we need for learning in order to take new material in? And a learning zone needs, again, space and that sense of time. So there's a lot of these things sort of cross over. And in a learning zone, and especially in a school or an environment, these children do not all learn at once, or everybody has a different way of processing information. So we need to allow people time, you know, especially for the deep thinkers or the more shy ones that take a little bit longer. It's not that they're any less bright or anything else, but they take a little bit longer, in fact, opposite often, to process that information. And I was so aware in this classroom that questions would be asked to a student, and a little one, and you could see their eyes were going, they were ready to answer, but they didn't answer straight away. So, and then the teacher moved on, you know, and that's a problem, because that child then isn't heard, you know, hasn't been heard at all. And, you know, that, and unless you're heard, you mightn't ever try that again, you know, they lose confidence. And if you're constantly not being heard, then, you know, you neither learn nor can you get into the creative zone. So this is a really important thing, is that we allow others the space to be able to speak, and the silence. And again, to create a relaxed alertness with some space for listening. And this is where the pacing comes in. You know, we're so busy with the curriculum, jamming it into these poor little brains, that, you know, before too long, you know, in self-defense, we just go into overload, you know, it just becomes too much. And this is particularly with teenagers when they're sitting their last exams and things like that. So they need time to process. You need time to process the information and then kind of brew it, I think. Let it sit there for a while so it can germinate as such, and attach itself to some of the things that you already know, which is making associations, you know. So then that, whoops, oh God, I keep doing that. Brings me to the top bit, which is allowing. This is allowing again, from the side, we allow the quiet to be heard. We also allow the quiet so that people are able to express themselves and shine their own special little light. We need to allow attention and listening, to truly allow listening and allow them to hear, yeah, and us to hear what they're thinking as well. So we've got the time to process, and then on top of that, the time to expand and research and take on more knowledge once you've heard a little bit. And Andrew and I got very excited last Sunday when she was telling us of some of the things that she did within her class that took some creative writing a lot further, just by allowing that extra time and space so that they could go home and learn from each other too. And the thing turned out to such a wonderful sort of experience than just being told, okay, you've got to write an essay now or whatever, and go ahead and do it. So they did research along the way. They all learned from each other. Maybe she could share some of that later. So, I've got up here, we've got learning on one side and creativity. And, the whole lot kind of requires introspection. I've also put two things up the top here, which I'd like to share with you all. I think some of you may have had the chance and opportunity to use some of these, but even with little wee ones, I use this one exercise called Coming to Your Senses, which can be done in 2 minutes. It can be done outside an exam room. It can be done in the loo. If you're so stressed and you can't even think and you go blank, I'm sure we've all experienced that in some time in our life. And that a lot of that stemmed from myself, because I was a pianist, but I had performance anxiety so bad that I would just freeze and wouldn't be able to work. I wouldn't even be able to play the piano. So there's coming to your senses. And then there's also, a lot of you already know this EFT, which is emotional freedom technique. And I've got, a little bit of that if we want to try it. You go, would you all like to try just doing that quite quickly? So I can put this back up later, and I'm sure it's a bit crowded, but I hope you sort of these are just ideas I'm pushing to you, and I'm sure you've got lots of thoughts on them. Would anybody like to make some comments first, or shall we try this together and see how you respond? I mean, you don't have to read it or anything. I'm going to read it through for you, right? And this is a little exercise I came up with, and it was just simply to bring your attention back. It's, they've got, what do they call it? Mindfulness now. Well, this is just mindfulness. Mindfulness has been around for centuries, really. So this is just a little simple technique that everyone can do. And with my students that were very super anxious, it took me a while to get them into the swing of that. And my grandson, for instance, just can't keep still, fidgeting around, hanging upside down, doing all the things, And when we do this, his whole demeanor changes. So it's something to practice. If you could do it even just once a day, the kids will really benefit, or everybody will benefit. So shall we give it a go?
Sure.
All right. So it's called Come to Your Senses. So all you need to do is you need to sit upright in your chair, wherever you are, and with your back straight and your hands on your thighs and your feet flat on the floor, right? Now do close your eyes and I'll just talk you through it. Everyone happy with that?
Yeah.
So close your eyes. Now be aware of your feet flat on the floor, inside your shoes. Just be aware of your feet in your shoes. Then feel your backside in the seat and your back in the chair. Be aware of the back in the chair. Feel the touch of the clothes on your skin. Be aware of the play of air on the back of your hands and on your cheeks. Cheeks on your face, of course. Notice your breath going in through your nose and gently out through your lips. Now take 3 deep breaths. Now be aware of the sounds. First of all, the sound of my voice, the sound inside your room. Then be aware of the sounds in the street outside. Now I'd like to open up and widen this hearing. So just widen your hearing to access all across where you live, whether it's a city or you're out in the country. Just imagine your hearing reaching right out to the furthest sounds, even above the earth. Right up, go as far as you like. And continue to expand that hearing even more. Wider and wider. And just be aware of where sound comes from and returns to. Now, when you are ready, bring yourself gently back into the room, into the chair. And when you're ready, open your eyes. So can we have some comments now? I open it up back to you. Who could share their experience? Who would like to share their experience?
Julie, is the purpose to calm our mind, just to relax?
Yes. That's why I want to ask how people feel.
I feel good. I feel amazing.
There isn't a purpose really, apart from, there's no set purpose apart from, calm yourselves.
I really like it, Julie. It's very calming, and it's morning, so it's wonderful to meditate when you wake up. So I feel like I've gotten already my meditation, because normally I do meditate when I wake up. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes, it's actually not a meditation, but it kind of is. It just, you see, it's interesting because when you're aware of every sense, you can't think. It stops the mind from thinking.
Absolutely.
Tamara.
You put a new point onto that I hadn't heard before, and opening your hearing to above the earth, and And it kind of made me feel like, you know, those superheroes where they have all these extraordinary powers. I'm like, wow, what would it be like if I could hear everything in space right now, you know? So it kind of opened up that part of me. And you know, at first I was like, all I can hear is my pug snoring. Like, but then I was able to tune that out and go further. So that was nice. So thank you.
Oh, you're
I
well.
hear. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say the hearing did it for me too. And in fact, it does with most of my students too. I can almost see their whole, you know, when I'm peeking, I can see their whole shift. It's a huge shift. And it's into calm. It was just into a whole different awareness. But more
Kim,
comment.
go ahead.
Yeah, hi, Julie. I would like to say, man, that just felt really good. It was a nice way to just, for me, you know, it's real early here in California. I mean, not early for me specifically, but it is early. And it was just a great way to just, you know, start your day. I definitely, the first thing I do in the morning is meditate and open my mind. I love the word allowing. You know, it seemed like for so long in my life that I did not allow space and time to be of, you know, a priority in my life. And I think as, you know, as we get older, we get wiser, but that's not always the truth, right? And I think in the world that we live in, you know, busy is supposed to be, you know, something meaning you're thriving, and it's so far from the truth, you know. And I do have a lot of experience. I work with special needs kids. And so it's really refreshing to hear you talk about, you know, each and every one of us have a special need, right? We may not be on the spectrum, but we have special needs to be heard. And so I really love that when you stated that, right? If you think about it, we all process differently, like you said. And so I think that being aware of that, you know, for one another is powerful to kind of understand one another's story.
Yeah.
Right, is a way to help each other understand process, you know, and our own unique special needs. So thank you for sharing this. Very, very refreshing.
And this is only 2 minutes, you know, it's about 2 minutes of your life. And I used it with students of all ages. And there was a lot of fidgeting around when I first did it. You know, we'd have to keep stopping because they just wouldn't sit still or whatever. And then eventually they did it, and they themselves felt the shift themselves. And so within a week, you know, they would come back just once weekly. Within the next week, they would all be, can we do the exercise? Can we do the exercise? You know, and then they came in every time to do it, you know, because they knew that it made them feel better. And it also gave them more understanding of each other, because we did other things too, because I've done this tapping I put there too, but we won't have time to do that, I don't think, today. But I'm sure a lot of you are aware of how tapping can also, if you're working with very stressed students, that can help an awful lot, you know. But I
Julie,
think
do you mind stopping the share? I'm sorry for interrupting.
Yep. Oh, well, yes. You want me to stop with the share?
The share, yeah.
Okay. I was just going to thank you all. And I have just, I have done a script for tapping as well, you know, or EFT if you like, certainly for anxiety and exam things and lack of confidence. So that's another thing I do use with students or even my friends when they're in a rough situation. Okay, so thank you on that. Here we are, we're all back.
Okay, Darla, go ahead. Thank you, Kim.
I just wanted to say, Julie, that that tool that you used with the hearing, being someone who's hearing impaired and just recently in the last year getting hearing aids, I never thought about using the spatial awareness for hearing further. So that actually really activated something for me today in regards to something I need to continue to do. And I really appreciate that, because I normally am starting to recognize the sounds in my immediate area, like the clock ticking and stuff like that, you know, like things that are normal for everyone else. Being that I got my hearing aids in the last year, I had only had 30% hearing for most of my life. And so it's been a massive change and shift. When you did that, that technique just now, I actually had the opportunity that it allowed me to broaden my spatial awareness. And instead of having to step outside to hear the birds, I realized I was sitting here hearing them, and I could hear something else rustling, which I realized it was the neighbor's dog. And I was like, and it was just realizing sounds while I was sitting here doing it. So this is something I'm gonna actually begin practicing more, because I'm used to feeling, and that's gonna sound really different. Everyone else is used to hearing the sounds. I'm used to feeling sounds. Like if a truck or a vehicle goes down the road, I know it's a vehicle because I know the sensation that I feel through the ground.
Yep, me too. Yeah, me too. With
I can actually hear that, so I can actually use this as a tool to begin really training myself instead of just feeling so out of sorts. I can spend time daily using this. This is actually going to be very beneficial to me. Thank you very much, Julie.
Oh, you're very welcome. And I've found with my students, nearly all the people that are struggling most, it's actually the hearing that causes the most distress. And it does with me. I've sort of got cocktail party. I can't hear people if I'm in a crowd. And my son was he was in a place where it made him angry, you know, because it was so loud that he got frustrated. So a lot of our behaviours, or the behaviours of children, are mostly very, very strongly based on the hearing, you know, or the hypersensitivity of the hearing, not the hyper, that they hear sounds that nobody else hears, you know. So, and it's painful. In the opposite to you, where you were hard of hearing, it can be painful, but you could be hard of hearing in some frequencies and overly sensitive in others, which also causes a huge amount of distortion, you know. So, yeah, it's great. Hearing's a very interesting one. Other people, oh, look how many people here. Lovely that you've all come.
I noticed the computer sound, which I don't normally notice. I'm on a computer a lot, but when it's quiet, I could hear it, the buzzing sound from the computer. It's a very interesting process to quiet your mind before you go on, you know, especially when you're stressed and anxious. I think it's good to quiet your mind.
And I call it coming to your senses, because you have to use every sense. But the hearing is the most powerful one that we leave to the end.
Yeah. Let's hear it from Sue.
Well, I tend to process everything visually. I'm so heavy in the visual realm that it was really good for me to just stop and listen. And I don't have any hearing loss or issues. It's actually kind of hard for me to tune out noises because I'm a little bit ADHD. So I found that actually hyper focusing on the sounds calmed me. Whereas normally the sounds can kind of distract me and hype me up. When it was a focused exercise, I found it oddly calming. And I thought, gosh, I should be doing this more often.
I know, it's amazing. And you need the eyes shut. You see, you need the eyes shut.
Oh, I definitely do, because I'm so hyper visual that I can't stop looking at everything. So it was, shutting the eyes was crucial. And I really got deep into it. And it did, I know it's not a meditative exercise, but I also thought it felt meditative. So
it's a play on words, really, isn't it?
I guess it is. But it definitely relaxed my mind and my body. My body felt more relaxed. because I tend to stay pretty ramped up all the time. And it definitely calmed me right down. So
Good.
thank you.
Thank you, Sue. Yeah, I get that. It's like we're so busy, like we don't have time to meditate. We don't have time for, but I think it's good to stop, you know, and just allow ourselves to be mindful and, you know, to calm our space. Lori, do you have anything you would like to share?
Oh, yeah, no, I thought that was great. You know, the last few weeks for me have been a little bit of a roller coaster and highly stressful. And it really did allow me to quiet my mind. I had some difficulties throughout the exercise staying focused, but like someone had said earlier, I could hear my dog snoring, but then I could hear the birds outside chirping. And then when, you know, Julie was talking about, you know, hearing above the earth, and I was like, really, I was like, what can I hear? You know, so it evoked a curiosity, which I thought was good. But even though I struggled through the exercise and quieting my mind, I felt better afterwards. So I think that that's something that, you know, getting myself through this next few weeks, which are going to be a little challenging for me. I think that I need to visit this exercise often.
It's why we call it coming to your senses, because you can't think when you're in your sense. You know, when you're actually experiencing that sense, the thinking stops. And that's why it's restful.
Yeah. And it's great that it's, you know, it's simplicity, right? Like, I mean, just, and so like that's, I think what the biggest takeaway for me was, you know, sometimes we complicate our lives so much, and just taking that simplicity and using that in our toolbox is greatness. I think that that's really great.
I mean, you can actually do it in the middle of the street somewhere and nobody knows that you're doing it. So almost in the middle of a meeting too, if it gets too much.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, as long as you don't fall asleep. Just kidding. But that was great. Angela. Are you there, Angela? Can you talk?
Yeah. I don't know if my video is on, but
No, it's not.
I can't do anything about that. I'm in school at the moment, so
yeah,
it was on and then it suddenly switched. But anyway, I think you can hear me. Yeah, just like you said, Laurie, it's such a simple exercise. It doesn't take much time, and I think that's the thing about what you're talking about as well. It's finding space. We love it when we get into it, but we kind of don't have the discipline to get into it, which takes very little. It just takes one little push. It's like doing your yoga in the morning. It's like doing a lot of things. When you've done it, you just love it, and you feel great, and you feel, wow, this is amazing. And the next morning, it's like, oh gosh, I have to make the change. I have to make the shift. I have to make that decision. And something simple like this as well. It's about giving yourself the time. And when you give it, you realize that you're actually giving love to yourself. You're being good to yourself. And it's so easy to do it. But we have to kind of train ourselves in being good to ourselves, because good things for ourselves are actually quite simple. There's nothing really complicated about them. And they give back such a great feeling that they should, instead of being difficult for us or demanding discipline, they should be just a delight. Basically, yeah.
I often.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Julie.
No, I was just going to say, Angela's made a point. It would be wonderful almost to have this as part of your classroom routine, you know, if you're a teacher, or, you know, or before you have dinner or something, you know, at home, just to do it as a, because very easily you slip out of it, you know.
We're so busy, we don't give ourselves some time. And this is a simple, very simple and short exercise that I think we just have to be aware to take time out sometimes for ourselves. So thank you, Angela. Kathleen, can you talk? Because you said you're driving or something. Maybe we'll skip Kathleen. Faith? you want to share?
I would like to ask a couple of questions about the sound and the noise thing. I wonder if anyone else here has ever felt when they were overwhelmed or tired, as if too much noise or too loud a noise made you feel like you couldn't even think or see or any, it just took over all the senses and sort of made it a scramble. And that's interesting that to me, that from my own experience, that having an overload of stress is very much like when I'm overtired, or when you see little children are overtired, your system kind of just wants to shut off.
Yep.
So loud noise is extremely bothersome for calming down, or too much noise. So that's a excellent way to redirect yourself to calming, I think. The other thing I wanted to ask, I'm just asking, it kind of sounded like you weren't done. Did you also have a tapping thing you wanted to share
I
with us?
did, but I don't think we've got enough time to do it. Perhaps I could come on and do it another time, you know. I have.
Does everyone want to do the tapping, or do you prefer, you want to do
I
the
can easily
tapping?
go back and do it for you.
Okay, let's do it then. Is
I
it
love
Okay.
anyone else want to share before we go back to tapping?
You
I
know,
love tapping.
Binta has something to say, and I wanted to say something real quick too. Go for it, Binta.
Oh, I was gonna say I love the tapping, and I appreciate this topic, because for me, meditation is a part of my life, and yoga is a part of my life. So just taking the time to listen to the beautiful sounds of nature is so healing for me, and I just love that so much. I actually write in the morning, and I'm grateful. I say thank you for sound, you know, because it is so beautiful to be like we have a heavy construction going on my street right now, and the sounds are so like you can hear the earth shaking when they're working, but it doesn't bother me, because I've learned to let that, you know, like it's music to me. It could be annoying to some people, but for me it's like music. I just think like it's like music. Don't let it bother you. So sound is so beautiful, and just so grateful to be able to hear sound, hear the birds chirping outside. It's so healing. And so, yeah.
I can see Kathleen unmuting. Thank you, Binta. And then Kim, I think Kim has something. Kathleen, did you want to say something? Oh no, she's muted again. Go ahead, Kim.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment. I know in the last month or so, my mom is 92 years old. And when we're talking about hearing, I literally was living with her for half of May. So it was a big change in health for her. And when we talk about hearing, you know, when your hearing seems to be pretty within normal range, right? You don't realize, like for her, it's aging, right? So she's going blind, but her hearing she was having, we thought maybe a UTI, and she was confused and a lot of hallucinations, things going on in and out of the hospital. And in that, what we found with her doctors is that her hearing aids were no longer working. So, you know, it's confusing. I know Darla could probably relate to that, like it will confuse the mind, right? And so it was such a learning process for me as far as understanding that senses. Like I already know she's been, you know, almost blind for a while, right? She still has a bit of, but the hearing was never, I mean, I just thought of that as an aging thing. I didn't really understand the value. I mean, I do about the brain, but I never went further. And so listening to this just really gave me that much more confirmation to hearing your stories, ladies. So thank you. You know, just really realizing what others go through with that lack of, you know, or or the, being able to really happen to listen in. And I love Julie. I didn't say this earlier, but listening above the earth was so powerful.
Yeah.
Like my brain was grabbing. It was like, oh, I can hear this, right? So my brain was grabbing for things above the earth that I could just treasure. So again, thank you. But this is very powerful for me.
Oh, thank you. Lovely comments.
Thank you. Maybe so only a few more people left here to speak, and then we'll go to tapping. Lovelyn, do you have anything to say? Lovelyn? Kasha?
Kasha's gone back to sleep.
Omega?
No, I'm oops. Yeah, no.
Okay.
Oh God.
Okay, I think
Anyway,
everyone
yeah,
have a
I'm
chance,
good.
and Arlene just come in, so
Hi, I'm here
Ar-
and I'm awake. Julie, nice to see you, but nothing to share.
she did a session where she it's like a meditation to calm your mind. I was asking everyone about how they feel about that, but since you weren't here during that session, so we're just gonna go on to the tapping. So Julie, if
Yeah.
you want to go ahead, because I think some of the others are either working or driving or something.
Okay, well, I'm going to go back to sharing the screen because I put it all in. Okay, can you all see that again? So I called it Taming the Gremlins. Now, this is something a little bit different because tapping, as you know, is emotional freedom technique, so that it entails actually expressing emotions, right, and letting them go. So it's a different procedure altogether, I think. And it's incredibly useful in times of stress and grief and everything else, that you can actually, gives you the chance to express things that you're not allowed to normally. You can swear, you can do what you like because it's just you, right? And most of you people know who it comes from. And I put this into here as well. And it's a combination of ancient Chinese acupressure and modern psychology. Gary Craig was the one that sort of put it together. I think he was an engineer. So you've got all your tapping points that I can see here. Can you see them there?
Yes.
Oh, get off. Right. And I think most of you might know these, and you need to take a little time, and I'm certainly very happy to share this with anybody, because this is actually from the Tapping Solution with Nick Ortner. I don't know if any of you know him. He uses just tapping very well. So he's done a diagram, and we actually start on the karate chop point, where you just tap that with the other hand. And then you start at the beginning. You say, right, on a scale of 1 to 10, how negative are you feeling right now? Now, this, remember, is to rid yourself of stress, or, just move through some stuff that you want to improve, right? I've done this based on exam nerves and exam and taking in information for students, right? Especially if they're going to sit their exams and they just haven't they've lost any sense of self-worth. So you can always clearly state your feelings of frustration. But what I'll do here is I'll just go through it with you. And of course, if you were to do it yourself, you would make up your own script, and you would work through what you need to work through. So I'll explain it a little as we go, and you can certainly try it if you want to, especially if you're feeling out of control about something. So, you would actually, hang on, I've missed this very good point here. This is at 3 points, and you say it 3 times on the karate chop point, yeah? And you clearly state what your feelings of frustration are. And you say, even though I am stressed and fearful about my exams, I completely love, trust, and accept myself. And you say that 3 times, and you can say whatever you like first. but we always finish it with I completely love, trust, and accept myself. So even though I'm stressed and fearful about something, I completely love, trust, and accept myself.
I completely love, trust, and accept myself.
Even though I'm stressed and fearful about, I completely love, trust, and accept myself 3 times. And then what virtually happens is, this is where we start with your negative emotions. Yeah, because they're right in your head and you need to get rid of them. That's the idea. So you would start on your eyebrow point, which is right at the, in between, above the nose. You can use 2 fingers, you can use both sides, you can use 2 hands, whatever you want to do. So I feel out of control with my feelings. And you go to the side of the eye and totally inadequate and not sure what to do. Under the eye, everyone else seems so prepared and confident. Under the nose, I am so sick of feeling like this all the time. Under the chin, and feeling insecure and confused. And the collarbones, it is agony to sit and put up with this all the time. And then under the arm, like a monkey, I do the monkey, but I'm really not sure what to do. Others are managing it. And then top of the head, I just want to sit, watch TV, and play games to distract me. So this one's about, of course, preparing study. So you repeat as often as you like, you're making up your own script. So why are other people not feeling this way, feeling the same way? It makes me feel like a freak. And under the nose, under the eye, sorry, I have every right to feel this way, the chin. But is this really being useful to myself? You can see there's a slight shift in consciousness here. I don't need to get pulled into beating myself. Under the arm, could I have just imagined this to be true? On top of the head, are these negative emotions taking control? And then we go again, side of the eye. There must be a different way to start thinking. Under the eye. Well, I've actually missed a point here, but it doesn't matter. A way that is encouraging for me. Under the nose. I deserve to feel happier and confident. Under the chin. Like I do in so many areas of my life. Collarbone. I have so much inside of me that knows exactly what to do. Under the arm, I just need to allow this and believe in myself. And on top of the head, I know that there are ways that will work for me. And then you would take a deep breath and test your feelings. I mean, this is just a demonstration. What I suggest is that if there's something bothering you, you go home and make up your own script. And I've had times where, especially in the middle of grief, I will scream and swear. Really. Oh, we've got a bit more. So I have opportunities that I can try that are fun. This is study, remember, under the eye. When things are fun, it is easier to learn and remember. Under the nose. I could try some of these different ways. Under the chin. I feel happy that I'm taking control. Collarbone. I am strong and my brain has unlimited capacity. Under the arm. To learn and remember all that is required. And then top of the head. I trust in the knowing that I am creative and clever, and learning comes easily to me. Okay. So I was just going to say the end to finish this off is just good luck. Good luck with using these 2 techniques to empty your negative thoughts. And then I'll put a few more things. This was really for exam preparation. Use lavender oil in a diffuser or a burner. Take a lovely walk outside in nature. listen to music or some really lovely talks, etc. Sleep often, try taking a 20-minute nap and drink plenty of water. So that's your answer to exams. Okay, and I think all of you know that Gary Craig was the emotional freedom technique. He was the beginner. You know, he was the one that really kind of marketed it, I suppose, or brought it to people's conscious attention. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing now. Have we gone over time? Oh,
Yeah, we it's exactly 8 o'clock. So maybe we'll just take a few if any of you have anything to say about the tapping.
and
If you need to leave, you know, feel free to do so because it is 8 o'clock. But go ahead, Tamara.
Well, I like tapping. I've done tapping before, but I always forget to do that when I'm like stressed out. But
me too.
I like the words that you used. They, you know, like it's very specific to certain areas of your life. And not always am I able to put words to the feeling, but
No,
being able to listen to somebody else put words that kind of resonate with you more. It's very helpful to hear those. So just having that, and then when you're doing that with kids and studying,
yeah,
I think that is going to be like phenomenal if you can instill that in them as they're younger, you know, instill the mindset and then instill the tapping. So when they do get stressed out, and I think a lot, like with my testing, I always had trouble with testing.
me too.
And I'm a special ed teacher. I was a special ed teacher as well. And I wanted to just instill the love of learning, not learning for points, not learning for a grade.
No.
So instilling the mindset at the beginning of the day and teaching them how to breathe is so good. And then when, you know, there's nothing we can do about the overall system at this point, but we can teach them these skills so that they would be better prepared going into those situations. And I love that you're doing that and trying to get that out there. So kudos.
And you can taper it to their own needs and their own language too, and even make it funny. You know, it's quite good to make it funny. And you know, if the teachers, I used to get the kids coming in and they'd overload them with assignments, all have to be at the end date. And I said, the silly teachers give us everything at once, you know, and you can really sort of express that. And of course they like that because the frustration could come out that it wasn't really their fault, you know, but they were subject to all the stress that other people,
you know, my just recently I had gone into a pre-K classroom and the teacher had given the kids 3 sheets of work to do, 4-year-olds. And I was like, oh my goodness, what are we getting into here? You know, and I had to bring that up. Like, we got to let these kids be kids. And so I just love that you're doing this. So good. Keep going.
I think they should all be playing till they're at least 6. Yes. You can make the play useful, you know.
Yeah, learning by fun,
discovery,
having fun, you know, not, I don't let me get on my soapbox right now, but.
No. Well, Angela's got a lot to offer there. She does an amazing job with her class and shifting them forward to a huge amount of creative learning, you know, but at the same time, they're owning it, you know, they're loving it and they're contributing to it. So it's not all just told for them to do.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Tamara. We'll just take a few more because we're already past the hour. Kasia, go ahead.
Thank you, Julie. And what I would like to add to this beautiful presentation is that, you know, if all of the education spaces would be allowing and creating teaching with understanding of the nature of the children and all of those skills, options, and versions of learning abilities, even testing would not have to be stressful.
No.
Right?
Yep.
And Julie, you know that, you know, I really, really love Montessori school
program.
and that program actually allows children
Does.
to learn within the playing attitude. And I love the idea that even the toddlers with Montessori style are actually taught from the beginning to study, to learn, to exercise, and everything is called work. So later on, children don't have to recognize that work has to be so horrible.
No, that's dead right. My granddaughter's just started at Montessori. She's just turned 3, and she just adores it, absolutely adores it. So,
well, thank you so much. And again, I wish that I could, turn the time back, and I hope in the next lifetime everybody is going to learn Montessori style with more
Kasha,
understanding.
Kasha, you have turned the time back. You've healed from it now, you know.
Yeah, and just the last thing, even in a Montessori environment for some children, it is really hard to learn because of whatever other damage could be done to the children. Because let's remember, it's not only about how we are teaching, and not about the classroom. Sometimes
Oh, of course not.
damage at home from stress, from divorce, from parents fighting, and those are additional challenges that even in the best teaching environment, it's still hard for children.
But what you can do is, and I guess I was special needs, but I used to do this too within the curriculum part, is to give them the power and the tools to be able to do something about it themselves, and to take hold of themselves. And so wherever they are, that they could be, come to themselves, which even just coming to your senses will do that, no matter what they've been through. So it does give them some tools.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kasha. And I think we need to close this. Julie, I'll give you the last word. It's been such a great conversation here.
I'm
loving
blown
it.
away. Yeah, I'm absolutely blown away by your lovely comments, everyone. And I mean, I thought I was doing too much. That's always me. But it was just lovely. Thank you so much. And what a lovely audience. And I hope, well, you can take some of this into your lives and make it simple. Yeah, it is simple.
Yes. Thank you again, Julie. Next
You're
week.
very welcome. And if anybody wants any of those materials, just let me know and I will send you some stuff off if you want it. Just the scripts and things. Yeah.
Sounds good. Thank you,
Thank
Julie.
you so much, Julie. It was wonderful.
Yeah, and we'll see you. I think Joey from the Philippines will be speaking next week. So hope to see all of you there. Thank you again, everyone. Have a great
Bye,
week.
everyone.
Okay. Thank you.
Wonderful day.
Thank you,
Thank
Renee.
you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.